Hi, everyone. Welcome to Trinity Youth. I'm very excited that I get the opportunity to hang out with you today. If we haven't met, my name is Jared, and I hang out here at Trinity with our NEXTGEN team, but in kids ministry. Now, you might be asking, why is the kids ministry guy here in youth ministry? Well, Sarah and Bex wanted to do this week's teach with flannel graph. So, who better to ask than the kids ministry person? But all joking aside, I'm not actually going to use flannel graph. But now that I've said it, I kind of want to because I think we could make it really, really fun. So last week, Sarah introduced the whole overarching story, the meta narrative of the Bible. As she did that, you heard her communicate the hopes and dreams for the year, that you'd ask really big questions, that you'd discover new things and see where your story fits within God's big story, and that He has incredible things in store just for you. The hope is that you'll discover more and more about what it means to both follow and fall in love with Jesus. Today, we're going to dive in at the very beginning of the story. Like every remarkable story, it begins by laying a foundation. It's setting us up for everything that is yet to come. The first book of the Bible is aptly titled Genesis. And if you look up the word Genesis on Merriam-Webster, it says the origin or the coming into being of something. Together, we're going to dive into the origin, the coming into being, the creative beginning of how the world and humanity was created and is connected. And that includes you. It's intimately tied to who you are and why you are here. Now, I'm a huge fan of origin stories. I grew up loving the X-Men. Now, some of you are like, who? Yes, the X-Men. A group of misunderstood outsiders, oddballs, weirdos, and freaks that had discovered some sort of power that had made them extra special. Mutants, as they were called, were often in hiding because they weren't accepted by others. But Charles Xavier had found a way to bring them in and train them and create this band of evil-crushing crusaders. As long as I can remember, Wolverine has been my favorite. He's so manly and macho, and he has that sweet hairdo and rides that awesome motorcycle. He's my spirit animal. They made an X-Men origin movie all about Wolverine, and I thought it was awesome. Unfortunately, expert movie reviewers, whoever they are, and what do they really know, disagreed with me. It's got a 37% Rotten Tomatoes rating. And when you Google the title, it comes up with things like, why is X-Men Origins Wolverine so bad? It's why I have trust issues. Now, you might agree that the movie was terrible, or maybe you've never even seen it, but there are a ton of origin stories in the entertainment industry. Here are a few: Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Harry Potter, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Monsters University, Star Wars, and even Aquaman, just to name a few. And probably one of the best that's most recent is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which has a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and makes me feel a bit better about myself. So, maybe Wolverine isn't your favorite, but take a few minutes to share with your group what your favorite origin story is and why. Origin stories are captivating because they help us understand who the hero is. They weren't always heroes. Something happened that caused them to step into their purpose. And often they face a problem that they can't solve until they go back and fight to understand their origin. You and I, we're no different. And that's exactly what this week is about. We're going to start at the very beginning to discover together that creation is an invitation. It's an invitation to see your story within God's story. The first invitation from creation is to see. And here's what I mean by that. God clearly, deliberately, and purposefully begins by speaking creation into existence. It famously starts with those opening words, "in the beginning." At the very start, this is the origin of the world and how things came to be. As you read the story, you'll discover the use of two important words that are repeated throughout: let and good. Every element in the story of God's creation starts with the word let. Let there be light. Let there be a vault that separates the waters below from the waters above. Let the waters be gathered into one place and let dry ground appear. Let the land produce vegetation and let there be lights in the vault of the sky. Let is an active word. It's like announcing that something that wasn't happening before is now going to take place. The text says that there was nothing except God, and then he spoke, "Let there be life." The second word to notice is good. After God creates each piece of creation, it says he called it good. And the only difference in each of these creation pieces is that God not only spoke about creating mankind, but he used his hands as well. Humanity is not just spoken, but actually formed by him and in his image, to which he says it is very good. It's like God can't even help himself. It's an expression that comes out of the core of who he is, love and good. Creation is an invitation to see that each and every one of us is here on purpose and for a purpose, formed out of love and fashioned very good. And then the familiar story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, when they were being tempted by the enemy disguised as a serpent. The serpent plants seeds of doubt. Did God really say that? We hear echoes of this story in questions that you and I ask, like, who am I? Why am I here? And why is life so dang hard? Maybe you've been hurt by something someone said or did to you, or the difficulty of making new friends at a new school, or betrayed by someone you thought was a friend, or trying to find your way through a situation that feels so overwhelming, maybe at home or at school, or just trying to find your place to belong. You hear the lies in your head like, I'm a mistake, or I'm not good enough, or why do I even try? We see it in world events like 9/11 and protests like Black Lives Matter. It's that part of us that wonders, what's wrong with the world? The creation account is an invitation to see what's really going on here. To see that the lies can be exposed with the truth that you are created by the God who is the definition of love and fashioned you good, even in the midst of the distortion that is sin. Sin is a legacy of anger and hatred and violence and selfishness in the world. It's evident all the way from Adam and Eve's choice to Cain's choice to kill his brother, all through the Bible and right up to us. This story shows us that first and foremost, humanity, you and I, are created out of love and formed from the ultimate love, and yet our hearts are broken through sin. In the next few minutes, take some time to read the account together in your group. You could have some fun with it, like maybe act it out or draw it out, and reading it is just as good. Then take some time to answer these questions together. When I was growing up, there were some people who used to call me Eeyore. Well, they called me a lot of things, but Eeyore was definitely one of them that I remember. They thought I just kind of like lumbered around, in this mopey kind of melancholy, the sky is falling kind of way, everything is the worst and that's never going to happen. And it's because I felt lost, I think. Like I didn't know who I was or where I was going, and I felt like everybody had it all figured out except for me. And I felt like I was being left in the dust. The more I learned about myself and understanding who God made me to be, the more things began to change. And I think more than anything, what it came down to is the acceptance that life is a bit of a battle. And understanding who God made me to be and why I am here helped me to understand that I wanted to fight. Which leads us to the second invitation, that creation is an invitation to fight. Knowing that sin is a part of our story can lead us to a kind of Eeyore faith in God. I'm sinful, my heart is broken, I'm a mess. And those are all true statements of me, at least. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. But yes, those things are true. And yes, there is an enemy whose sole purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy, as Jesus said. There's an enemy who plants those seeds of doubt in our minds and creates confusion and distrust and selfishness and hurt. Sin definitely is in us, but I want to propose another narrative. John Eldredge, one of my favorite authors, writes, "The story of your life is the story of the long and brutal assault on your heart by the one who knows what you could be and fears it." I love that statement because it's like putting the enemy on notice by saying, I see what's going on here. I see the lies and I know the truth. The invitation in creation is to fight. It's to fight the lies with the truth that you and we are God's masterpiece, created to do the good things that God planned for us to do long before we were even born. Eldredge goes on to say that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And so we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Can you hear that again? That you are a child of God. I think so often, too often actually, we see who we are not. We feel like we don't measure up, that we aren't enough, or that we're weak. But God sees who He created you to be. To fight means to claim that in your life. To wake up every day and say yes to the God who created you on purpose and for a purpose. You are here for a reason, and you are loved beyond your wildest dreams. It's why places like where you are right now in youth group matter. Because together we get to encourage each other in that fight. We get to remind each other that we are all children of God. Now, for some of us, especially high school students, that fight can be with people in our lives who think that this whole creation and God thing is a hoax, and further use it to question any sort of existence of God. They say things like it's not based in science, and it rubs shoulders with creation theories like evolution or the Big Bang. And in these kinds of conversations, followers of Jesus often end up on the defense. Prove to me that there's a God. And I'd like to challenge that today too. Prove that there's not. Mark Clark, in his book, The Problem of God, he walks through the evidence of the existence of God in three areas: morality, cosmology, and design. And in cosmology specifically, there is a scientific theory called contingency. And it's the idea that if something begins to exist, the existence is dependent on something outside of it that pre-existed it, causing it to come into being. The cause of something like the Big Bang can't be matter, because matter came into existence at the Big Bang. Something immaterial is responsible for creation, and that something goes beyond the limits of the universe. Clark continues to write, he says, that's where the evidence points us, and that's exactly what Christianity has been claiming from the beginning. Even science is beginning to see evidence for the creation account. Now, I know that's a bit of a glossing over, but I didn't want to talk about creation today without dipping our toes into the science piece. So talk to your leaders if that's something you're interested in or have more questions about, because we would love to be a resource for you in that. So creation is an invitation to see the truth of who God is, who we are, and why we are here. It's also an invitation to fight. See, understanding our origin story is rooted in God's creation can help us in the things that we face today in life. So this week, I'd encourage you to look up and highlight Ephesians 2:10 in your own Bible, whether that's on your app or on a Bible. Each morning when you wake up, open your eyes, and before your feet even hit the floor, use that verse to remind you of who created you and who he created you to be, and say, I'm in, let's go. These are the last few questions, and I'm praying for you as you continue to journey through them, and we'll see you soon.